So I decided to go with an Issyria Tier 4 list, which basically is a whole lot of infantry. So I have the two full units of Dawnguard Sentinels. I get a free UA because of the tier. I have two Chimeras and a Phoenix just for 3 Arc nodes. The Houseguard Halberdiers and the Standard Bearer, along with the Thane, makes them really, really fast. And an Arcanist just to round out, mainly for power booster. But occasionally for concentrated power, making the Phoenix a pound 19. I also have Sylys in the list, mainly to help me upkeep my spells, and with the Arcane Secrets and Issyria's Feet, I generally don't have any problems hitting what I need to with Blinding Light.
Hello, this is Taodark, and this week I'll be playing a Trollboods list that is actually an offshot of an e-gristle list that I've been working on. I decided to map it over to Madrak and see how it worked with just a simple caster switch, because Madrak's Crusher Feet, along with Carnage, really kind of accents anything with reach and either Weapons Master or the ability to boost through the beast. So a lot of reach in this list, and Weapons Masters as well. Troll deployment. I lost the roll to go first, so since I didn't know how he was going to deploy his army, I went for symmetrical deployment, putting Madrak in the center along with the stones, flanking on each side by one of his war beasts, and then warders on each side. I had the champions spread so that it was 3 on one side and 2 on the other. I don't know what direction he's going to go with deployment, so I have to plan for anything.
So here we start with my deployment. The general plan was to put Issyria up front, and then have an Arc node on either flank and have the Phoenix playing backup. With this much infantry, it's a little fiddly trying to get everything to fit on the front line and still not crowd myself. As it turns out, I do sort of end up crowding myself. I have to fix the positioning for Issyria and the Phoenix and the other Chimera, because I want a basic line of I want the Halberdiers in the center to sort of go straight up the middle and jam, just because they're really, really fast on the first turn with the tier bonus and Desperate Pace. It means they're going to walk forward 10 inches and then be able to reform another 3 inches forward in shield wall, so that 13 inches up the board. And then I want to have a unit of sentinels on either flank, just so I can sort of collapse in if everything works out. So collapse towards the middle and sort of catch his army in between 2 pinchers of POW 12 Weapon Masters. And then I have a Chimera on either flank, and the Phoenix playing backup, and then Sylys hanging out by Issyria.
Trolls turn 1. So I'm looking at the scenario and who I'm versus, and I know that Issyria is kind of a squishy caster. I'm looking at the deployment zone, and I'm really feeling like that my gameplay is really going to revolve around the closest flag, so that would be my opponent's flag. If I can push up on that and start dominating for 2, I'm fairly comfortable with the concept that Issyria is not necessarily going to push for the opponent's flag, since it's so far up, and it would put her closer to the rest of my army. So I'm contemplating about pushing on that first flag and just contesting my flag. Warders go up in their standard X formation that I do, and then the farthest warder unit gets Surefoot off of the Runebearer, while the closest unit gets Tail of Mist off of the Chronicler, and that's just to give those 2 units a little bit of a boost. Everything else kind of just shuffles forward. Madrak dumps everything into the stone, which is a norm for me, and the stone kind of just shuffles up. And then the champions kind of push forward, and I decide to push the champions, since I'm going to go for that bottom flag, to shift the champion from a central deployment to more of a left-hand deployment.
So my turn starts off. I end up allocating out some focus to the Phoenix and to a Chimera. Apparition kicks in for the Chimeras, and then I have my Thane walk forward 8 inches because 2+2 speed from the tier, and give Desperate Pace to the Halberdiers. The Halberdiers go ahead and walk their 10 because they're speed 6, +2 for the tier bonus in the first turn, and +2 for Desperate Pace. Makes them really, really quick. So they advance in shield wall. And then I use their reform just to spread them out a little bit and try and cover some gaps in my lines. My Sentinels go ahead and run. They're speed 7 on the first turn, so they're going to run 14 inches. And I'm getting up the board really fast, which works out because I'm trying to jam and possibly trigger some vengeance moves next turn, which will get me farther up the board, and it'll let me push more towards the center, or at the very least kill some warders. So my Arcanist advances, both Chimeras end up running this turn. The Phoenix goes ahead and runs. And Issyria advances her 8 because of the tier bonus, puts Inviolable Resolve on the Halberdiers, making them armor 20 in shield wall, and I put Admonition on the Phoenix just because I think he might need it, and Sylys goes ahead and hangs out behind the wall for some cover, and because he's not really a frontline piece at all. So, and I have my other unit of Sentinels, they just go ahead and run as well.
Troll's turn 2. So he's pushed forward, but I don't really think that he's close enough to really benefit from the using Crusher this turn, my feet. With the Warder's 4-inch move, 7-inch charge, 9-inch threat, I really don't think I'm going to get enough of them into range that I'm going to benefit from Crusher enough. So I'm going to have to push forward the army again and just take it on the chin, in hopes that I'll have enough for a turn 3 Crusher. So I kind of shift up the Warders, just kind of engaging one of them, and then putting a couple of them around the flag so that the flag becomes an issue for movement, since you can't stop your movement on the end of a flag. Now the Sentinels have reach, so that's something that I can't necessarily mitigate, but I'm going to go for anything I can to try and keep some of these Warders alive. The second Warders unit, same concept, running them forward, engaging them so that a couple of the Sentinels can't get charges off, and just kind of try and choke him up so that I can push for turn 3. The stone advances up in front of the wall. At the beginning of the game, I was kind of thinking that I was going to wait till turn 3 to push the stone forward, but if I'm going to go for that bottom flag, then I'm really going to have to advance them forward and just rely on either self-sack or blocking in order to do it. Following suit with the concept of a turn 3 Crusher, I'm going to advance up both Mulg and the Axer behind the Warders, so that a way that they have an opportunity to be a second wave or a backup Crusher effect. Or if Crusher goes badly, that they can be a next wave to the attack. The champions are advancing forward because of their non-reach. I need the enemy to be closer to me, so I set up a wall of 3 champions. Mostly the ones in the center, they're just to block any potential charges to the stone. and possibly any shooting, because champions had to be in base to base to get the increased armor. I kind of view them as a good screen for other things that follow behind, like Chroniclers or champion heroes or anything like that. Things that I don't necessarily want to get shot or charged. So the Axer moved up, and I'm just kind of riling and running in order to get all that I necessary. I set the champion hero up so that when it comes time for the champions to get charged, if anything kills them outright, then the champion hero can follow up in suit and deal with what killed it. With her feet incoming, it's hard to determine if I'm actually going to be able to survive with enough to maximize Crusher, but we shall see.
So coming into my second turn, he's managed to jam me up pretty good with the warders on both flanks. He didn't take the vengeance bait, so I don't get any vengeance move this turn. Looking at the board, I don't allocate any focus. Mainly because I have a feeling this is going to be my feet turn, and I want to have focus available to at least blinding light something, more than the unit of orders with Surefoot. With my feet, it's not really necessary, but anything that helps my chances of hitting and dropping their defense back down to 12 is always useful. So Issyria goes ahead and upkeeps Inviolable Resolve for free with Sylys. She goes first this turn. She feats, and she ends up arcing Blinding Light at the unit of warders with Surefoot. And then she's pretty much done. And she ancillary attacks with the Phoenix, and shooting that one warder does nothing to him, though. Chimera just gets out of the way. And I'm trying to figure out a decent way to get rid of the warders in front of me so I can at least get some charges in. So, I end up with shooting with the Phoenix. He just aims and shoots, and even with the feet up and dropping the die, it doesn't do anything. The Thane advances, puts Desert Pace on the Halberdiers, who then mini-feet and take the charge order. So I'm charging so that I, one, get the gang bonus for the mini-feet, and two, I'm trying to free up the Sentinels a little bit more than they are right now. If I can kill at least one or two of the warders on each side, that'll let the Sentinels charge a little bit more freely. So, and I try and gut as much of his center as I can and jam him up with the Halberdiers. So, under the mini feat and with the charge, the Halberdiers are POW 14, and with Issyria rolling an additional die and dropping whichever die I want, which is generally going to be the lowest one, they hit surprisingly hard. So, I end up killing a couple of the warders, or excuse me, end up killing a warder and some of the champions. And then his center is fairly well jammed up with the Halberdiers. So with reach, they're not. it's not going to be easy for him to maneuver around them without taking free strikes, or at least that's the hope. So, Halberdiers doing some work. They end up killing one of the warders on my right flank, like one or two of the champions in the center, and then one of the warders in the on my left flank. Which is fairly helpful because it lets me move around, if not necessarily as freely as I would like, a little bit more free than I would have if those warders had still been alive. The champions I'm not terribly worried about at this point, mainly because the Halberdiers are jamming them up pretty good, so they can't really get around, if at all possible. So, or at least not without killing the Halberdiers or doing something about them. So, I have my Sentinels charge and run. I don't get as many charges as I would like, mainly because of that one warder right there. So, but pretty much what I do charge at least triggers tough, and then kills him. So, pile 12 up masters on the charge with what effectively is Signs Importance for the turn is kind of good. You can see my opponent putting down knockdown tokens. What ended up happening was the warders that I was hitting had Hero's Tragedy on them, so the models that killed warders were knocked down, which isn't terrible, but it's not, of course, ideal to be knocked down at any point, really. So, the other unit of Sentinels goes ahead and takes the charge order as well. I again don't get as many charges as I would like, but you do what you can. At the very least, the warders that I hit. Until you roll stuff like that, so that was terrible. Managed to kill a good chunk of heavy infantry this turn, which is always useful, but that's pretty much it.
Trolls turn 3. So at the end of his activation, I've lost 3 warders out of the bottom warder unit, 2 warders at the top ward unit, and 2 of my champions. You know, losing 7 heavy infantry in a list that only has 15 for its infantry total, it hurts. But honestly, it probably could have been a lot worse for me. I made a lot of tough checks, more than I normally do, and that was a bit surprising. So this is definitely going to be my turn for Crusher, because it's going to give me the opportunity for those few warders that are left over and the champions to gain back what I have lost and potentially more. For those unfamiliar with Crusher, basically what happens is after I pop feet, and a model activates, goes in, and when it doesn't attack, if it manages to kill the target model, or manages to kill a model with its attack, then it is allowed a 1-inch advance and then another attack. And that next attack can trigger the feat again. So what it ends up doing is it kind of chains into from infantry model to infantry model. So I'm kind of planning out my turn. I need to get Madrak further upfield so that his control area and the feat control and the feat effect, as well as Carnage, are across the board, and I can get it maximize as much as I can. So the stone activates, advances over to the right a little bit, and puts up stone strength. So then now everything's +1 to its strength. Madrak is going to check his control area. I'm just trying to figure out where Crusher reaches, how far it reaches out, so that I can maximize it and figure out how I'm going to advance. The Chronicler activates, or I'm sorry, the Runebearer activates and puts a Harmonious Exaltation, so that way I can purchase Carnage at 1 point cheaper on the Fury. Because when I activate Madrak, I'm going to be using him in his own Crusher feat, and if I need to buy attacks in order to continue clearing to a point I want to get, I'm going to need as much fear as I can. So Madrak activates, advances up, pops feet, puts Carnage up, and it's going to just start going through the Halberdiers. So he kills one and advances, kills the next one and advances. And basically it's just, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get closer up to the middle of the board. So I'm going to use that 1-inch advance to clear out as much of that Halberdier unit as I can, so I can also free up that warder who's currently engaged, and allow the warder and the Axer to push forward and not have to worry about free strikes from Halberdiers. So Madrak's in his final position, and I believe I'm sitting on two Fury for transfers, and I still have my scroll, but he's standing out in the open. It allows Crusher and Carnage to extend out, but I mean, you can look at the board. There's clear lines everywhere. So in my activation, not only am I going to have to get as much as I can out of the feat, but I'm also going to need to put up some sort of defense for him. For the next turn, if it goes to the next turn, to make sure that he survives, and that I don't just hand a great feat turn into a caster death. So the warders are activating. There's only 2 of them, but again, as I mentioned in the army list, Reach, Weapons Masters, under the feat turn, under Carnage, are really good. I mean, we're already dealing with Mat 7 warders. Carnage puts them up to Mat 9, so even something that's a defense 14 or 15 is possible. It really helps me that the defense of the Sentinels is the same as Trolls, so it allows me to really turn that Mat 9 on. And basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to use this warder and its overtake moves to get him up the field, so that I can put some damage on the officer, because he's the only one in this unit that's going to have boxes, and he's the only one who could potentially stop a overtake advance. Going after the knockdown, since it's an auto hit, it's I don't want to call it a guaranteed overtake, but it's a high chance with a weapon master that it will trigger another overtake. So they do a break check, and they roll double one, so they don't care about rally. Everybody's dying, but they don't care. So the Warders did an amazing amount of damage, but I don't want to leave those two weapons masters out there, so I activate the Axer and advance the Axer in. There's enough space that, charge the Axer in. There's enough space in there that he should be able to fit between the two, so he turns around and activates up. I use the overtake. Since he also has reach, now he's going to go after the officer. So I miss on that strike, so I buy an attack, and then I hit. And then I'm just activating, using the Crusher move to pull him back, so that I can get a little bit of line of sight blocking to anything that could potentially shoot me, or anything that might potentially charge, like a Chimera or a Phoenix or something like that. So activating the next warder unit, and they're going to advance up. The range of Crusher does not extend all the way out to all of the Sentinels. So the very far warder at the top of the screen is only going to get his one attack, because he is not within Crusher, nor is the target within Crusher, but he does manage to get the charge and kill that one model, and that ends his activation. So just checking to see where the feat goes, if these models are in range, who's in range of the feat effect. So Mulg activates up, and I'm kind of looking at the way that those models that are left over are clutched together, and I'm looking at a potential assassination, or I see a potential assassination that I'm going to try and go for. I would hate to lose Mulg to a Phoenix, but the game has swung so heavily in my favor right now that I'm willing to press my luck on it. We switch for a proxy base because Mulg Club is going to be an issue with getting accurate movements, and I don't want to knock anything more than I already do. So we put the proxy base in to take place of him. So he's basically chugging forward. I haven't spent any fury yet because all he did was advance, and just kind of using the feet turn to give him the ability to advance up. And at POW 19, it's basically if it hits, it dies. So I advance up, and then I check, and the Thane is just out, like a smidgen out. So I was hoping to use the Thane to get to Issyria. I'm going to have to now buy attacks and hope that I can kill the Chimera, so that I can continue the overtake shenanigans. So the Chimera goes down. We put down the wreck marker base. Now that he gets the 1 inch, now he is close enough to go after the Thane. And then after the Thane, he goes in and is just a slipper inside Issyria's base range. So I go for an attack on her. So Mulg's on max fury, and I'm not going to have him survive next turn, so I'm basically just choose the to run the champions forward and wrap around.
So as you can tell from the board state and from my opponent's last turn, this is a sort of object lesson in why this kind of list should never be dropped against Madrak. Basically, I mean, Madrak feeded and ate pretty much every infantry model I had, and I have Mulg staring down Issyria. This is not a good situation, and this is never a situation that you want to have Issyria in, considering that, 1, she's not steady, and 2, she's eminently squishy. Even though, yes, she has defense 16, she's only armor 13. So, I give 3 focus and power to the Phoenix and give him power booster as well, and then I hit him with the Phoenix. POW 19 at versus armor 19 straight dice, and I tank some of the damage rolls, leaving him alive with a good chunk of health. He is on fire, not that it's going to matter, because he's armor 19. And next turn, or my opponent's next turn, he can walk up the Krielstone and do no continuous effects, assuming there is a next turn anyway. So, the 2 remaining Sentinels I have go trying to kill at least a warder between the 2 of them. And they do. So, and as I said before, Issyria is staring down Mulg. Issyria has no offensive capability herself, and the only spell, she really has is Blinding Light, which doesn't affect war beasts. In retrospect, I should have cast Admonition on myself, so at least I could have walked away and left Mulg sort of standing there, without really a target. I probably would have lost the Phoenix at that point, but, that's pretty much it. So, I have Issyria try and walk away. She eats a free strike. He gets the crit, which knocks her down, which ends her turn, and that will be game. So,
Troll's turn 4. So the prior turn has her knocked down. Mulg is the easiest answer to end the game. So I take the Fury off of Mulg where I can, leaving 2 on the Axer and Mulg. I roll for the Axer, he's fine. I roll for Mulg, he rolls a 7. The 2 Fury puts him at 9, so he barely passes the threshold. Just activate him. I advance him up so that he's still engaged with the Phoenix and club down Issyria for a caster assassination.